Welcome back to Wormhole Extremists, everyone. My name is David. I'm with Nicole.
Hello.
And Evie.
Hello.
And the last time we saw Prometheus, she was stuck over a planet
Yonder.
whose name I can't think of right now. Yeah.
I do have that. Oh my God, where did I put it? Prometheus.
Was it Tagalis?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
There we
David
go.
for the win.
Totes. All
Yeah.
right. So now
Totes.
it's Stargate Prometheus instead of Star Trek Voyager. Prometheus is making her way
Exactly.
back from the Delta Quadrant.
Yes, it was Memento where
Yep.
we last saw her,
Yes,
and then she
season
was
6.
mentioned again in an episode after that, I believe. And John Novak and Ingrid Cavaliers reprised their roles as Colonel Ronson and Major Gant,
There we
just
go.
to maintain a bit of crew continuity. And I believe that this episode was originally titled Crossfire and then changed to Passengers before they finally named it Grace.
Wow.
And it's important to remember as well that Amanda did win a Leo Award for Dramatic
Nice.
Series Best Lead Performance by a Female for her role in this episode.
Wow, that's great. I forgot all about that.
And I believe that according to the DVD commentary, this episode actually received the highest ratings for any television show on the Sci-Fi Channel at the time.
Damn. Heroes is
And
coming, so
the
that's gonna go away.
concept of this episode originated from a conversation between Amanda and Robert C. about exploring Sam's struggles and life choices.
Yeah,
So-
she's not able to do a lot of the stuff that she would have wanted to do as a woman.
I
because
bet-
she's
Exactly.
mulatto, so,
I bet I know
yeah.
why it got the highest ratings that it did for
Really?
the
Oh, the
week.
smoochy smooch.
The smoochy smooch.
Oh, yeah,
and
that'll work.
fans were pissed, but we'll get to that.
I was very happy.
Yeah,
there
we
you
were
go.
all very
Anyway.
happy.
Yeah, but see,
but
you're
this was-
rational.
Yeah, well, I try to be. So this episode was written by Damien Kindler and directed by Peter West. And Damien Kindler originally had like two initial ideas that formed like the basis for this episode. So there was a dream about Sam trapped on a planet in decaying orbit and the team encountering this like faceless alien threat. And according to Damien, he wanted the story to be like a closed door mystery where viewers would never really learn what happened in the epic sense, keeping like a focus on Sam's personal journey.
Mm.
So change the shift the perspective a little bit in terms of
Yeah.
what it is that we're chewing on. Yeah.
By the
So-
way, I just want to say that the girl who plays the little girl, Grace, we were having a conversation before the stream, earlier.
Sasha.
Patis Schaefer has 17.9 million followers on Instagram. There you go.
Okay,
That's
so
how
she's kind of a
famous
big
she
deal.
is.
All right,
She's a very
good.
big deal. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing that we can reduce people's
I know, it's
self-worth
terrible.
now to a number?
It's
And
terrible.
we don't say that it's self-worth, but we all know that it is. You've been around
Yeah.
teenagers.
Apparently, it's a huge part of picking actors to be in films now is how many followers they have on Instagram.
Yep.
Which shouldn't be
my
how that's
God.
done.
Nope,
Yeah.
it should be raw
Wow.
talent, but that's
Yep.
not the world we live
Guys,
in anymore.
I'm very proud. I think I have about 100.
Amazing,
I am a
Evie.
big deal.
Oh gosh.
So we just saw for a second there Craig Veroni, who plays the weapons officer.
Yes.
And he later takes on the reoccurring role of Dr. Peter Groden in Atlantis.
Yeah, we're
Yes,
having
I
Craig
love him
on
so
this
much.
coming Saturday.
There you go.
His English
All the
accent's fake,
stars are
right?
aligning.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. There's one line in
calling him out.
Atlantis where he sounds really convincing until there's one line in Siege Part 1 where I was like, ooh.
Do you
And
remember
then
the
that was
line?
it. He says, "Get the hell out of here," but he goes, "Get the hell out of here," and he says it like that. And I was
Oh,
like, "We
know
don't say it like
know
that, darling."
Exactly the line that you've said.
It's-
Yeah,
It sounded too embellished.
And that's how
Yes,
he
he
ended his
pronounces
time
the
on
wrong
Stargate.
thing.
Yeah, that makes me sad that that's one of the
A little
last
bit
thing
of
he
British,
says.
American, Canadian slippage there in
It
terms
was,
of the
yeah.
language.
I love that.
Yeah. I always loved
Okay.
this design.
Yes.
Yeah?
The design is very unique to the Stargate universe, and I think we never see it again. It's never identified, and we never see it again.
I can see where Kindler's idea of an unknown force did make its way into this.
Yeah.
Yes.
The galaxy is very big,
Yes.
and
Yes.
the goal don't
Yes.
necessarily control all of it.
No.
all regions of space. No.
Yep.
Raj Rita said, FYI, this episode when they mentioned they so wait, this is the episode when they mentioned they have installed Alcash hyperdrives into the Prometheus. So
They mentioned it just at the start.
yeah, which is very cool because I actually
is
never
very cool.
realized that.
So we do
trivia,
have
David.
the ship does have an hyperdrive now?
We just came out of hyperspace a minute when
Yeah, they just came out of
Okay.
hyperspace, but they're having to do little tiny hops.
That's how they're pulling it
because-
off, yeah.
Yeah. Because it was
Little
meant for a much smaller
baby
ship.
Alcash hyperdrive can't handle
Yes.
Prometheus size.
Man, when they show
So-
these stock explosions now, I can really tell.
So the attack scenes here utilized quick cuts and unstable camera work to create like the heightened sense of tension and chaos.
That is the most clinical way to describe an action sequence for a television series.
I'm glad you liked it.
I didn't say I liked it.
You know what? I don't mind the little mini explosions here. I think the one thing that I'm most like, quote unquote, hate offended by is on Galactica when that random chair always goes through that one piece of glass in the.
Oh, yes, I know.
And yet they
exactly
always
what you're
manage to find
referring
another piece of glass in the back room.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. These are all
yes.
plexi though, so they're not going to shatter. At least not like that.
No.
And I believe that the scenario of a ship being attacked and then trapped in a nebula shares some similarities with several Star Trek episodes, including TNG's Night Terrors, where the Enterprise is trapped in a spatial phenomenon.
Yes, it's a Tychon's Rift, but yes. Yeah, you can't see it, but it's there. And this is definitely not the first time that the nebula may be alive. Except in this case, you don't know for sure. But
No,
it
you
probably
don't.
is.
Yeah.
That's a lot of drawers.
Sam's
That is,
about
yeah,
to
too many
get a
drawers.
boo-boo.
Someone
Yes.
owns a lot of pairs of shoes.
Those are
I
actually
love-
very pretty crystals.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
gonna say, I love at some point they become clear crystals.
They sure do. I didn't realize
So-
humanity made colored crystals. I thought we only had white ones.
Yeah, I feel like maybe we started making our own crystals after nicking all the gold crystals. Got a bit.
Yeah,
hot.
those are. I'm pretty
Maybe.
sure these are gold crystals. They're a different color of acrylic.
Yeah, I think it's probably maybe because they've combined obviously gold technology into their ship. I think that's kind of why that's going on. And I guess as the different ships are made and Earth becomes more technologically well off, they can start making their own stuff. So
Mm.
Lockwatcher, red boxes in the background are fire extinguisher boxes.
Oh, I love that. Reuse, recycle.
Yeah, Lockwatcher.
So,
This telephone right here is called a telephone.
So Peter West deliberately used like wider camera angles to show as much of the Prometheus set as possible and helped to depict Sam as really small within her environment, sort of emphasizing that sense of isolation and vulnerability. And the production team employed, I believe it's called Dutch camera angles, where they deliberately tilt the camera to create like this disorientating, off balance sort of look. And the camera rotation techniques sort of create this sort of sense of uncertainty for viewers about whether the scenes were a reality or a dream. And it was sort of a special challenge in a way because it was going to reveal some of the studio ceiling above the set. So the crew had to specifically like fill in the set ceilings to maintain the illusion that it was a
Yeah,
ship.
that was a really wide shot there. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it
didn't
was.
have to look very far up to see the Norco studios. It was this set was over at Norco at the time. They hadn't moved it to Bridge, which I'm sure was a process in and of itself.
I bet it
Yeah.
was.
So, do you guys? What was the explanation that they didn't move? That they didn't transport her over? She was just unconscious. So they didn't detect her, or was she in a shielded part of the ship?
Well, there's a lot of theories about that. I was going to go into it later, but the theory is that these aliens were essentially testing a human to sort of figure out their morals, essentially. So I think she was, in that theory, deliberately left behind.
thank God they chose the right human, huh?
Yeah.
They chose the wrong person.
Interesting. So the aliens on
I
the
don't
other
think
ship.
they ever explained it. Yes.
No.
Okay,
yeah.
interesting. Let's go
Yeah.
and find a ship of primitive beings, bring them over, and then see whether or not they will eat chicken.
They
So
were
they
trying to
just put-
figure out maybe if she was a threat, like if humanity
Was that just
was a
the
threat.
SGC elevator just in the middle of the Prometheus?
No, it's a different elevator.
No,
Okay,
I
Yeah,
don't
these are
think
two different
so.
studios. So
I know, but I was wondering
My-
because the numbers look the same.
my theory is that the Grace, whatever it is, may
Mm.
have hid her from being detected.
Oh, I didn't think about
Uh-huh.
that.
I want to keep her to
I
herself.
always just assumed that. Well, I don't know really. So I always assumed that the dust had something going on with it, and that was like alive, and that the other aliens were also just kind of there minding their business, and that was it. And then they conveniently just all kind of pieced out and
Mm.
like
Mm,
became friends. But I don't really know.
yeah. Well,
Almost like it was the water.
the water. Yeah,
In Watergate.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, I'll just jump to this now. I was going to leave it to the end,
I'm
but it
sorry,
sort
I'm
of
screwing
makes
up
sense
your
to. No,
timing. You know.
I should be a lot more
Well, I
flexible.
was,
So-
David. Thanks, David.
My apologies.
My
So
But
apologies.
there's
Evie, be more mean to
apparently
David.
there's a sorry, I'm in the zone.
She keeps saying
So-
sorry.
There's a short story called Pleasure Cruise by is it Gion or Gion Cannon, and it's in a Fandemonian book called Far Horizons. It's like an anthology, and it did explore like what the aliens' true nature could have been. And in this story, they revealed that they were testing humanity by disabling the Prometheus and observing the crew's response.
Mhm.
So they valued things like hope, compassion, trust, and love, and they considered themselves protectors of the vulnerable civilizations
Mm.
against oppressors like the Goa'uld. And these hallucinations served as a communication method. And
Wow.
species failing their ethical assessment would be confined to their own region of space. So they were essentially like cosmic gatekeepers, but it's just it's not canon.
Yeah, the Q
but
were
yeah.
the Q were set up that way in
Mm.
the
Mm.
pilots of Next Generation Encounter at Farpoint. They were essentially, going to place a barrier around Federation space to keep humans from spreading themselves farther into the universe. But then the Q
Right.
turned out to be corrupt in their own ways. So
Oh, okay.
I always found Teal'c very mean there. I always find like it's interesting the way
So-
that they're all shown. I feel like Jack's fine. Daniel and Teal'c I feel like are a bit out of character for me. But
That's
just me.
that was deliberately done.
Yeah,
So,
they're actually
each
hallucinations, Nicole.
hallucination-
Yeah. Yeah, but like they're wrong
So-
hallucinations.
Yeah, but she's very tired. This is the thing I
She's
remember about this
concussed.
episode. This episode is for me the episode where Sam seems tired the whole time. And I wish that there wasn't such a lean into that, but I don't love this episode like a lot of other people do.
No.
I was
don't.
really looking forward to this episode and I was disappointed by it.
So I've
Aw,
got
I
a couple
love this
things
episode.
to say
I'm
about that. which is
thrilled.
Simply
Yeah,
that
so have I.
I feel that Amanda hasn't been getting a lot of time to shine on her own.
I
Everyone
agree.
else has been getting episodes on
Yep.
their own. And so this is
Yep.
the one episode that Sam could have shone. And I think that Amanda does an amazing job, but I feel like they didn't do enough for her. I feel
Yep.
like she deserved something bigger.
I
you
think
know?
she's better in Death Knell. I
me
sincerely
too.
do.
I love
Yeah.
Death Knell.
Yeah, Death Knell's awesome.
I do definitely prefer Death Knell
Me
over this
too.
episode,
The
but I do
perseverance.
like this episode, but it is a bit more it's a bit more subtle, I
It's a bottle
guess.
show. You
Yeah.
can tell when they're really cranking it to save money or
Yeah.
lack of cranking it, I guess I should say. But
Yeah.
man, I
So
forgot
I
how
was,
beautiful this original set was.
Yeah.
So I'm about a few points behind. I'll try and
I'm
catch
Sorry,
up.
Evie, go.
Evie.
Sorry, no, I like I said, I need to be a little bit more flexible. I feel like I'm in a rush this morning. So each hallucination throughout this episode basically is supposed to represent a different aspect of Sam's psyche. So Teal'c,
Yeah.
that version of Teal'c, was specifically embodying her survival instinct
Mm.
and her will to live. So yeah.
I guess that is quite a Teal'c thing about like,
Mm.
after what happened to him in Changeling as well. It's very much matching that vibe. But I feel like
Yes.
Daniel's just so bloody annoying. So it's just too much. Too much for me.
Well, going back to Grace as well, so the true identity and meaning of Grace has been left open deliberately for interpretation by the writers.
Mm.
So Amanda personally viewed Grace as representing Sam's child if she had chosen a family over career,
Whoa.
and also the
Wow.
potential future for Sam that she might have sacrificed for her professional achievements.
Yeah.
There would be a piece of you that would dwell on that if you were a family
Yeah.
person.
It really would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole nursery rhyme, the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star thing that's running throughout this episode. So the children's nursery rhyme was intentionally chosen by the writers to create this eerie, unsettling contrast to this really dire situation that Sam is in. And it's sort of similar to techniques that they use in horror films sometimes that juxtapose innocence with danger. And I think it's also very similar to a really early episode of The Twilight Zone called Nightmare as a Child, where a woman is similarly haunted by this mysterious young girl who's also singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Yeah.
And Daniel
comment
here,
at all.
he's he's supposed to embody Sam's sort of scientific curiosity. And he's kind of energetically
See, that does
urging
make
her to
sense. He's
study
just
the
so
cloud
annoying.
rather than just escape.
Yeah.
And he's like uniquely self-aware among her hallucinations, explicitly acknowledging that he is a product of her subconscious.
Well, the
Because
scientific
science,
aspect would be the one to do it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It would, absolutely right. And Amanda said that Michael Shanks deliberately played this very animated version of Daniel in these scenes. And according to one Redditor, each manifestation in Sam's mind represents like a crucial aspect of her personality that she needed to survive this crisis. So in their mind, Tilk embodied strength and resilience. Daniel is logic and intellect. Jacob reflects wisdom about her personal life, and Jack symbolizes confidence because he's always served
go
as her
save your ass.
cheerleader, just as
Yeah.
he does in reality. So I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of sweet.
How much of this came from Damian Kindler? Or is this just
Uh,
an
I think it was
assumption?
written by. Oh, I don't know. I think it's just assumptions.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I think they're very fair.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of
I think
sense.
I think they're quite grounded. I was doing my research and I was like, yeah, I believe that. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
You just said it and I believe it, so yeah.
Also, before I think we heard Grace trying to invite Sam to play with her.
Yes.
And that was supposed to symbolize the joy that Sam has sacrificed in her career.
Yep.
And Amanda sort of saw Grace kind of
That's
as
why the kids thing.
maybe Sam's inner child and
Yeah.
her untapped potential beyond scientific achievements.
Being a
like
mum.
the parts of herself she suppressed while focusing on saving the world.
Raj actually made aloud a point that I kept to myself, but he articulated it for me. This could really easily have been the season 6 Sam being helped
Yes.
by Ascended Daniel
By
episode like the
Daniel.
others had, because
Exactly.
Honestly,
Raj
gutted
says,
we didn't do that.
imagine they did this episode in season 6 and Jonas also appeared and Daniel was Ascended Daniel appearing to help Sam like with Jack and Teal. So
Changeling.
in a way, you know, you
Exactly.
could look at this as kind of her version of her turn to be helpless and needing help from people who aren't there.
Yes,
It just
exactly. I
makes
love
me
that. I saw that on Reddit
so
yesterday and I was like, that's
sad.
perfect.
Because it's like Sam's not only had a disservice where she hasn't been getting enough cool episodes about her, but she also didn't get visited by Daniel when he was Ascended. Like, I'm really butthurt about that.
But she
That
does
they
get a
really
great
slipped.
scene with him in Fallen.
We
So.
get some banging moments from Sam coming up
Yeah.
for sure. I just
We
feel
do.
bad that, we just didn't get enough for
Yep.
a while,
And she does get to
Yeah.
direct at the end of the season. So
which is awesome. I actually really like that episode, so I'm really
Yes.
excited.
So Sam's obviously she's got like this methodical approach to rationing her supplies, which obviously that's her military training kicking in.
Yeah. Love Daniel.
the door didn't even start opening again for him.
No.
So
Bad
these
door.
these Earth scenes were strategically added to break up Sam's isolation storyline and show the passage of time, sort of creating a more balanced episode structure. And Jack's apparent disinterest and dismissiveness in this scene obviously marks his deep concern for Sam.
Yeah,
And
he's just dealing with it his own way.
Exactly. Unlike most of Sam's scenes, which were filmed by the second unit, these Earth-based scenes were shot by the main unit alongside other episodes to help expedite the overall production timeline.
Absolutely.
They did like 3 episodes at a time a lot of the time, didn't they? So
Well, apparently, Amanda Tapping was hoping that they would film this at a different time in the schedule because she really wanted time to prepare for the role, but they
Right.
ended up making it right before the break, the summer break. So she didn't have as much time to prepare as she would have wanted, but obviously she did quite okay with the preparation time she had because she
she
won
did great.
an
Yeah,
award.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love here that I feel like Daniel, ironically, he's got so much heart to him, but I feel like he's always so oblivious to the actual interpersonal stuff. Like
I
it's
feel
that
he
it's
is
that
too.
joke. Yeah, it's that joke of like, he can understand a dead person's feelings from like 4,000 years ago easier than he can the person sitting next to him sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like he's quite oblivious to Sam and Jack's feelings for one another.
But Teal'c is the quiet observer who like
He knows.
knows from just sitting there.
I think
Well,
that
we have that scene in the
I'm excited.
locker room, which
Yeah.
kind of matches what happened in
With Abyss.
Paradise Lost. Yeah,
Oh, sorry, Paradise Lost. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yep,
What were you gonna say,
I think
David?
so. I think that, Daniel could probably be classified as being slightly on the spectrum today. Because he's not
think
just
little
absent-minded. He's just.
I think everyone's on the spectrum, but there's like severity on the spectrum. Like everyone,
Well,
we're
however you
all
care to
there.
differentiate someone who is unique, sure. Yeah, I get it.
He gets.
Well, I mean,
he
everyone's
definitely
unique,
gets definitely gets hyper focused on his scientific
laughing right now.
endeavors.
Yeah. So I would say that I'm
Tennis
definitely
shoes.
I'm definitely on the spectrum myself. And I think, everyone's oh God, that's weird. It's calling us Samantha like that. That was weird. Creepy, Teal'c. Didn't like that.
Well, that's supposed to be Chris is supposed to be playing a somewhat different version of Teal'c in this particular scene, sort of making him slightly warmer and more emotionally direct than his usual stoic self.
Yes,
and I
didn't
think
you
that's
say something
why he's
about
called her Samantha?
him being a defense mechanism in this episode? I think you just said like 5 minutes ago.
the first scene. So the first scene he was in was more of her sort of like a defense thing. But this version of Teal'c, I think, represents Sam's sort of natural caution and strategic thinking, suggesting that she should do nothing to avoid potentially aiding enemies. And this scene sort of introduces significant uncertainty about what's really happening to Sam, adding this like another layer of mystery to the narrative. And
We are really psychobabbling this episode.
Oh,
there's a lot to say, yeah.
I have like 16 pages of notes on this.
Jesus Christ, Evie.
So in early outlines of the story, which Sam apparently, in early versions of the story, Sam would have actually boarded the alien vessel and come face to face with the crew. But the writers ultimately decided that a self-contained narrative would be a lot more effective.
And cheaper.
Yeah, and cheaper for sure.
Don't have to build a whole other set for another ship.
Unless aboard that ship it's really dark.
Yeah. Honey, why are you on the floor?
Well, she's got a concussion.
I guess all the quarters were locked.
Release the notes. I love it, Evie. Apparently, you have to give everyone the actual notes, like 16 pages. Front and back.
That's not a bad idea, posting
reference.
a Dropbox of all of your notes.
Yeah. I hope Evie has them all saved somewhere.
I have them.
I have most of them saved.
Good.
Release the notes.
Yeah. The receipts.
The receipts, yes.
Front and back. I'm glad that none of us are talking for a second because my brain needs a minute.
All I'm thinking is this is
so does
Ripley,
mine.
last survivor of the Nostromo.
That's what I was thinking.
Signing off.
It is Ripley.
Yeah. Oh, I love Alien. I really want us to one day, David, do an Alien Isolation stream together if we can do that.
It
We have to
will.
find time.
There are a few games that scare me when
And
I'm
that one
playing
is
them,
scary.
and that one is jump out of your skin, frightening.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd
so
be
good.
probably going into some like
I'd want Evie there with like a
psychotic-
blanket to cover her eyes when she needs it.
I'd go into like some psychotic break.
Don't
I
worry,
think, if
David
that's
would play it. You just get to watch him suffer. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can't get through it without dying. It's not possible.
Yeah, it's not.
So
No, it is
you
actually.
are
I got the
being-
achievement. I got the achievement to do it without dying.
Well, you had to do saves. Oh, she's getting sucked out. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you must stop your plan.
Sam abandons her escape plan just to save
Someone who's not there?
hallucination. So this sort of reveals how her protective instincts fundamentally override her logical thinking when someone appears in danger.
This would have been
And
a
I
great
think
excuse to bring
this
Cassandra
sequence-
back.
Oh, it would
Actually?
have.
That would have been perfect.
Oh my God,
I know,
David, you're
I
a
know.
genius.
I'm only thinking of it 20 years later.
You're a genius.
So this sequence was particularly challenging for the production team to film due to the complex special effects required for the venting of the atmosphere and the need for like coordinated timing between practical and digital elements. But they pulled it off.
Did you see a little girl? No. Like that he says little girl.
You are
What an
lying.
ass.
You are me. Kevin Weaver, release the EV files. That's funny.
The Y files. Do 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 do
Why
do.
files? So, the whole sentient space anomaly concept that Daniel comes up with is also similar to some Star Trek episodes. I think
Yeah.
there's Night
Cloud.
Terrors and Tin Man
Yeah.
playing with like the classic sci-fi concept.
Yeah, the
And
thing
Daniel's
is alive.
hallucination, the Daniel hallucination, should I say, is supposed to represent this like more imaginative, theoretical side of Sam's scientific mind, the part of her that considers unconventional explanations rather than just the most obvious solution.
See, I thought we already
And
covered this.
Kind of.
Okay. It's
And
very
the
thoughtful,
theory-
though.
The theory about the cloud being alive was intentionally included to suggest multiple possible explanations for what's happening, which helped to keep the uncertainty alive.
The idea is that the audience is supposed to fill in the gaps with what we think happened.
That's right,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's just open for interpretation. And
Yeah.
I believe Amanda deliberately underplayed Sam's concussion symptoms, choosing to perform these scenes very sort of softly to create a more realistic portrayal of a head injury.
Yeah.
The production team enhanced that deterioration through like very subtle lighting changes and makeup progression as the
It's
episode advances.
hard
Yeah,
not
she-
to want to fall
she's-
asleep.
Beautiful, but by somehow being beautiful, she also kind of looks like crap. But in a beautiful way. This doesn't negate her beauty. It's just like she plays off the exhaustion so well that like she looks miserable.
Yeah,
You're
she
beautiful
does.
when you're concussed.
Yeah, she's still beautiful when concussed.
It's so dangerous to fall asleep when you're concussed.
Yeah. She's doing a good job.
Dan Ben, I compared this to more Star Trek episodes when there's one person alone. There is an episode of Enterprise where the Doctor is stuck in a nebula of some form, and he's by himself, and he starts hallucinating.
Yes.
And that was
I've seen that. I love that one. That's a really good one. I've seen it.
And
Yeah.
so this was around that same time frame. This is 2002. There's a Voyager episode called The Cloud where the cloud was alive. Here he is.
Daddy!
Aww.
I'm not gonna lie, Jacob absolutely kills it in this scene. I think Carmen does an amazing
Carmen's
job.
wonderful.
He has such a heart in this moment, and then the way during this interaction that he conveys so much love and care for Sam is like,
Yes.
I you know what? This doesn't even feel like a hallucination. This is like, I feel like this is a conversation that Jacob and her like would have had.
It
you
isn't
know?
hard to act when the feelings
Yeah.
between two actors are real.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Also,
So-
actually, I hate to mention like this, but wasn't Amanda going through a series of miscarriages around this
Yes.
period of Stargate as well?
He probably was.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. So I feel like
Really raw.
her performance is probably also enhanced by her able to pull on that kind of stuff with the longing for family and what could have been. So this relationship with Jacob here, oh, so good. So good.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to sort of represent Sam's internal concerns about her life choices and personal happiness, particularly her prioritization of a career over family and relationships.
Yeah.
And Jacob suggesting that Sam has denied herself personal happiness out of fear of pain and loss does add significant depth to her character, explaining her reluctance to like pursue relationships despite her feelings for Jack. Yeah. So yeah. And I think this deeply personal conversation does stem directly from Amanda's request to the production team to explore Sam questioning what's missing as a woman
Yeah.
and examining her life choices.
I also think that it's quite funny because there's also kind of a reflection, I think, of like Amanda and what she had to deal with being a woman on set because the men were all able to have kids, babies, because their partners weren't on the show. So they were able to have kids through that. While Amanda being a lead character, it meant that she kind of had to wait to have kids. And I'm glad she finally pushed for it and everyone was okay with it. But it's absolutely tragic that she waited quite a while and then had such difficulty. I'm really glad she was able to succeed in the end and get have a kid and have the family she wanted.
Has she
so.
said that it's
Yeah.
because of her career that she postponed trying?
No. I'm assuming because that tends so in 99% of the time for women in Hollywood or like
Yeah.
filming acting, women are scared of getting
That's true.
fired or let go for having kids.
Yeah, of
they
course.
nearly fired Gillian Anderson from the X-Files.
Yeah.
They
That's
fully
true.
confessed that they did that. So she had to come back about like a week after having the baby.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I can think of Amanda. I'm pretty sure had at least 2 miscarriages, and I can also I also
lot.
know of at least 3 people who started a career somewhere and had maternity leave and then never came back to work. And it's like
Yeah.
I can see both sides of it too. I'm not saying what happened to Gillian Anderson was right by any means,
No.
but also
I
mean,
understand why.
if you're
It's
going
hard.
if you're going to agree to do something, agree to do it. But the thing
Yeah.
is, your life changes so quickly, and it's like, you know what? We can do with $100,000. We don't necessarily need $200,000. And you look at that face, and it's like, wow, my perspectives have firmly been entrenched now. So
Yeah. So that pivotal conversation as well, obviously, was designed to set up Sam meeting Pete in a few episodes' time.
well, that directly leads into this.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, they use that scene as part of the recap, don't they? When for
Yep.
that episode.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But Chimera, is it? Is that the episode? name?
Chimera, yes.
Chimera. Yep.
Osiris and Daniel. in
I'm
bed.
ready for the trivia.
Oh,
Here we go,
you
he's
are.
pissed.
You sure are.
He's pissed off. I love it.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, this kind of connects to a very similar scene with Tilk and Sam from Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this sort of rare vulnerability between Jack and Tilk is it kind of develops their relationship and also provides context for Jack's concern about Sam. Like it
The way
offers a
he
glimpse
was so silent and
beneath-
Jack knew.
it offers a glimpse beneath their typically stoic exteriors and
Yeah.
showcases this deep bond between these two warriors.
Yep. Daniel could
and
have the conversation
demonstrates
with him,
how-
but Jack would not have listened.
No.
Exactly. And I
Tilk's
think it
silence
really
made Jack
demonstrates how
do it.
SG1 really supports each other during these times of crises.
Mhm.
And his quip about Tilk's age,
Yeah.
it just sort of it shows how it demonstrates how Jack always uses humor as a defense.
Yep.
Yeah. You're like, what, 140? I love it. I also love the way that Teal'c's like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna call you on your crap because Sam was also experiencing this kind of crap, and now you're experiencing it. You two need to make out. So,
Oh boy.
someone brought up a good point. I was going to mention this. Ted said Charisma Carpenter was fired from Buffy for getting pregnant. Yes, Joss Whedon fired Charisma Carpenter for getting pregnant.
Oh, God, that's
Which is
awful.
and he got rid of her in the most horrific way and completely ruined all her storylines and just killed her off. Spoilers. And it was messed up. And it's that kind of stuff where I'm so angry, but I'm so glad that Stargate has been a show that has supported its female actresses through their performances and through their pregnancies and been like, we'll make it work. And they've done it time
Yeah.
and time again. So massive respect to the team behind Stargate for that.
So the bubble imagery
Mhm.
kind of serves multiple purposes. So
Yeah.
it represents Sam's isolation and inspiring her like escape solution. And it
Yeah, the bubble. Yeah.
originated from Damien Kindler's dream that sort of sparked this episode concept.
Mm.
Here you go.
So, okay, so very important scene.
Yeah, here we go.
This directly addresses this long, unresolved romantic feeling between Jack and Sam
So good.
without definitively concluding that storyline and maintaining
Yeah.
that tension that had built up over 7 seasons.
Yeah.
So, according to Damien, this scene was specifically designed to address but not conclude their relationship and intentionally, quote, stir the pot for fans who supported a romantic relationship
Damn right.
between Sam and Jack. And Joe Malozzi, he actually revealed that he wasn't a fan of the brief dream flash where Sam imagines kissing Jack, calling it potentially confusing for viewers as it represented a hallucination within a greater hallucination.
And
dream
it
within a
was
dream.
utilized by Sci-Fi Channel to push that episode, and they
Damn
got what they
right.
wanted. They got great ratings, and people were pissed afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Really,
got
they felt like
baited.
they'd been trapped.
So,
Yeah.
what does he mean when he says, "I'm a safe bet"? What does that mean? I don't understand to
Okay,
this
so-
day what that means.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
a
I know.
safe bet. Yeah, I think I know as well. So
Does it mean
I'm a
he's
safe bet.
inaccessible or he'll always be there for? What does that mean?
So in my mind, it means that she is putting sort of her hopes and dreams
Or her
and sort of
eggs.
reserving them on a man that's unobtainable, so that she
Doesn't have to go
doesn't
actually
free
look.
up her heart essentially
Yeah.
to look for other alternatives.
So she bets on him and her feelings to park her feelings there and not pursue anyone else.
Yeah, it's a lot
Correct, yeah.
easier to be in love with someone that's unattainable. So so that you can like be like, yes, I'm in love and I have that, but I can't progress it. Oh no, so I better focus on everything else in my
And
life.
so you just spin your wheels for years.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
There we go.
Yeah. Woo! Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's such a good kiss though. They're so good
It's
at
a
kissing.
really good.
They're
both,
so good at
they
kissing.
both look like good kisses.
Damn right they do. I'd love to kiss both of them.
I
People were
was
so
reading as
upset
well.
after that.
Well, I
They're-
enjoyed it, and I
They're
rewatched
upset.
this
The
numerous
only
times
time that
yesterday.
the actual Sam and Jack have ever touched
They were
lips is
upset
in Broke a
because
Divide.
they were upset because it doesn't. It's not real.
No, yeah, I
So-
know.
It's not
that's
real.
what I'm saying. I'm
It's a
saying that it
hallucination
hasn't
within
been
a
real since
hallucination.
season 1. We've never gotten a real kiss from them, and it's devastating. And we
Yeah.
can't do. We can't win.
That's very true. So, I read somewhere that Ben Browder was originally considered for the role of Pete Shanahan, but turned it down. I don't know how
What?
true that is.
I would love to have seen that.
I don't know about that because Peter wrote the episode,
Yeah, for
and
his
I think
brother.
that I don't
He,
know for
I
sure.
figured
I think
he
so.
always had his
Yeah.
brother. Yeah, he always had
Yeah.
David in mind.
Ben
for that, but
was
anyway.
considered for Dylan Everett
Mm.
in The Siege Part 2. I do know that, and I'm really glad they
I
didn't
love
go with
that.
that because it opened the door for Cameron Mitchell.
Damn right.
So, but Sci-Fi really wanted Ben on Stargate once Farscape ended, and had he known that, he could have they were basically like, this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And had Ben known that, he could have asked for a lot more in his contract.
Yeah.
Oh
So
God.
Dan Ben brought up something that I did read in an interview a while back, and I didn't remember how many, but yeah. So here it says tapping openly shared difficult experiences, has undergone through 8 miscarriages during
Yeah.
her
I know
marriage.
she had a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 8. It was 8, which is
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest things is that she's surrounded on set by like guys who just are never going to understand that. So it's like, oh, it's hard. to get over.
So I was going to say as well with the way that Grace speaks. So
Yeah.
this opinion was supported by a few people on Reddit, but
Yeah.
someone said that Grace could represent the daughter that Sam and Jack might have had if
that was a
Sam
big
had
fan
chosen
theory.
a different
Yeah.
path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never saw it as
And
that.
Sam and Grace presents a fascinating combination of both Sam and Jack. So she kind of like, she's blonde, so people were like, oh, she kind of looks like a young Sam Carter. And then also her personality sort of directly mirrors Jack's
Yeah.
distinctive traits. So from her like practical insistence that Sam eat something, which is something that Jack would do,
That's true.
eat something to maintain your strength, and then
Yeah.
her understated approval of that whole bubble solution as simply saying neat.
I love the way that Teal'c and Daniel are just going on, and then like Jack's like, everyone just shut up, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
forgot all about the
The big bubble sharing.
the Star Trek Voyager episode 1 with Jerry Ryan. She's also stuck in a nebula and is seeing people surrounded by. This is a classic sci-fi trope.
Yeah.
So Sam's compassionate offer to help this alien vessel despite their attack sort of demonstrates her diplomatic thinking, while the writers deliberately left the alien's true nature and motivations ambiguous to
Yeah.
allow for multiple interpretations, which is probably what makes this episode frustrating for many viewers.
So my favorite, hallucination episode is obviously Grace Under Pressure. So I'm really looking
Really?
forward
That's
to
sort
that.
of a companion piece to this episode.
Absolutely, it's a
Yeah.
spiritual successor.
Yeah, and it is. God damn, is it good? I've never been so excited to see Amanda and David kiss. So that was very excited. I'm very excited.
That swimsuit was awfully nice. So.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Again, coming from a straight woman who can appreciate art, Amanda Tapping is a beautiful figure.
Oh, you guys
I
put
love
on
her so
makeup
much.
for each other first, for us second. I mean, come on, let's be real. Interesting transporter effect. There we go.
I'm just saying I'm not like I'm not bi or a lesbian, but like I just love looking at women and being like, damn, you know, like you are a force to be reckoned with. You are gorgeous, you know, inside and out. And
You can
Amanda's just
appreciate
every
beauty.
level.
Yes.
Damn right.
Absolutely.
Damn right.
So were they being tortured over there? Were they in suspended animation? I don't think they
assume
really ever
suspended
get
animation.
into
They
it.
were all
Suspended
mid-war,
animation.
you know?
Yeah.
I would hate to be a guy just doing a poop while that happened. Imagine
Thanks.
being on the
Thanks so
toilet.
much for that
Someone
image.
definitely. I'm sure there was someone definitely on the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to bring toilets in here again, folks. It's not happening. But I don't
But
say
you wonder.
they're awfully honorable to just kind of, all right, we'll leave you. We'll just not worry about that.
I would have loved to be in like my bunk sleeping and then like woke up like Jack in a Fragile Balance being like, what happened? Why are you guys all in my room? And it's like, oh, you've been gone for ages.
Haven't had coffee, let alone a
Or
pee in
pee.
7 days. And I found out you
good.
stole my ass and made a mini
Mini me.
Mini me.
Good old Aaron Gant.
It's really good. Really, really good.
I'm trying to get Ronson on. John
Yeah.
Novak.
Oh, that'd be great.
First spaceship captain.
Damn right.
Working on it.
Roderick was laughing at us. Is it because of the poop? Oh, I love the scene. It's so
I
cute.
know.
So cute.
When she calls him Jack
And he's like, excuse
instead
me?
of Sir.
Yeah, because she still thinks
So
it's a hallucination.
I think that kind of helps to blur the fantasy and the reality in this
Yeah.
episode.
Oh,
Oh,
Excuse me.
excuse me?
Excuse me?
Sorry.
next time she calls him Jack is Lost City. And it's an awesome
Yes, it is a great scene.
Yes.
scene. David, you accidentally put don't discourage her and then went encourage, I mean. You silly Billy. I love that. You funny.
I sometimes am.
4 days. Felt
4
like
days, yeah.
Yeah.
A long time. Oh, the whole cake thing.
I'm so excited for the cake moment. The smile is so cute. My idea. He's so adorable.
I wonder if Rick loves cake as much as Jack claims to.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
could see
big
that
on
being a
cake. I'm big on
possibility. I love
cheesecake.
Yeah,
Oh, we talked about this
cheesecake
before,
too.
David.
Yep.
You and me are
New
cheesecake
York
people.
cheesecake.
Yeah. Damn right, New York cheesecake. Look at
That's
us.
right. There's a
I
You
love
great,
should go to New
good
York and
piece
have
of
there's
cheesecake
some
from
great
there.
shops in New York. Some of them are
Do
still
like a
around
wormhole
after COVID.
extremist episode where we go around just eating cake and it'll be like just really obscure Stargate reference. Evie can obviously come too. Obviously.
Thank you. I'm always an add-on.
That's not what I meant. Just David and I are cheesecake people.
They're delicious.
I do
You know
like
what?
cheesecake. I just don't like cheesecake base. Okay, so I just want to squeeze in these bits. So the
Yeah.
episode's closing moment of
Mm-hmm.
Grace singing after Jack leaves was I think added in to maintain mystery about what was real, allowing the viewers to interpret Grace as a hallucination, alien entity, or something entirely different.
Combination.
And obviously this episode does mark a pivotal point in Sam's character development, setting up the, relationship arc.
Sam's about to get sexy.
Oh boy.
And one Reddit fan suggested that this episode concept might have been more effective in season 6, which we discussed
Yeah.
earlier with
Yep. Yeah, could have
Daniel
been.
has been ascended.
If
And
I
the
can get
Yeah,
Damien
please go.
Kindler on. The first question I would ask him is, 20 years, 25 years later, what was your intent with the cloud? Was it really intelligent or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
I mean,
love to know
I
that
assume
too.
it is, but I don't know. But I guess we just wouldn't find out. That is the whole idea. But I mean, that's an interesting episode. It's not like my favorite thing in the world, but Amanda gets her time to shine and she deserves more of it. So
For sure.
Mm.
That was Grace.